Hey everyone, this is my go-kart project. It's been sitting on this bench over here for the past several months. Part of the reason is because it got too cold to work in the garage comfortably, and the other part of the reason is that I'm lazy and other projects have been taking my attention. But today's the day. You know what? This thing has been in the back of my mind for far too long, and I want to finish it. I know I need to get it done. And so I'm going to take some steps towards that today because this is why I've left off with the steering. It's not great. I have some work to do for sure. But there has been a bit of a big breakthrough, and that is that I found these wheels at a local yard sale for $2. So $1 each for some what looked to be maybe mobility scooter wheels, perhaps. Either that or wheelchair wheels. You don't really see like this white tire with anything else. If you happen to know what that is, then let me know in the comments. But the reality is that these wheels here are nicer than the wheels that I got off the power washer. So they actually seem to hold air, even though it looks like they've been in somebody's basement for the last 20 years. But yeah, today I'm going to be trying to focus on the front end. The rear end is the tricky part and really what's been holding me back because this is all the money that I've spent on this build so far. Literally, I've spent $2 on this entire project. Everything else has been either free or from my stash of parts or gifts in the case of the Honda engine that I'm using that's hiding over there. So yeah, it's supposed to be a super low dollar project. I don't want to just buy a rear end kit off Amazon. I'm trying to make it work myself, but it's causing me issues. And one of those issues is that I don't want to spend any money on this. That being said, it's huge. It's going to be very heavy. It already is very heavy. I want to see if it'll fit in the back of my truck. So I'm going to attempt that in a minute. But first things first, let me show you what I got going on here. So, for those of you who aren't aware, haven't seen all the episodes, this is a steering column from an Infiniti G35 Coupe that I happen to have in my garage for no reason at all. Actually, just look at some of the previous videos if you want to know the reason. But basically, this is going to serve as our steering column. I need to make a steering wheel. That is on the agenda for today. And I also want to figure out this section here because as it stands, it's not complete, but it's sort of close. Basically, the gist of it is piece welded to there, and then this thing is supposed to turn when the wheel turns. It doesn't really work that well at the moment. It needs some freshening up, that's for darn sure, so I'm going to work on that today too. Yeah, I got to take some risks. I got to start cutting and grinding and welding again, and this is the day to do it. So the reason why I bought these wheels, other than the fact that they are only $2, I mean, if I can't use them for this go-kart project, I'm gonna put them on my dolly because it currently has plastic wheels. Like wheels like this are always useful. So yeah, plus they can take a decent amount of weight. So the good part about them is, while the shaft on the inside is not keyed, it does have some screw holes in it, so I can hopefully put something through. And then there is another way to attach it to the rear axle because I want to have two drive wheels. We can possibly use these bolts here. They don't have a lot of tread, which is fine, but I think they're going to be a good start. If I end up buying a snowblower, I might end up using those wheels instead, and then maybe I'll put these on the front or something because those wheels don't even hold air for a day, so it's going to be a pain to have to blow it up every time. But yeah, it's back to the drawing board with this lad. Let's see what I can do, and yeah, actually, let me see if I can fit it in the back of my truck first. That's going to be a weird problem to have if it doesn't fit. Okay, so it kind of fits. It's all the way up at the end over here. How you doing, by the way? That's me right there. But it's darn close to the end. So, like, I know that this thing is too long. I kind of figure I'm going to have to chop a little bit off the back. And yeah, I see that more than ever now. The wheelbase on this is just massive. So this is a 5.7 foot bed. That's a lot of cars out there. And yeah, it's longer than that. That is legitimately the farthest it's ever rolled. And I'm happy to say that it didn't do too badly. So yeah. Okay, so first things first. Let's try and figure out these steering arms because they're kind of important. I'm just going for a really basic setup, but I'm not using the proper, I believe they're called Heim joints. I'm literally just using a rod, but this setup here ain't gonna work the way that it's sorted. This is how I want it to sit. I need to put some shims on this. There's a little bit more space in the axle there. as you can see, so that it doesn't touch there. Right, so here is my very quick hack steering job. The wheels are approximately in line, which is good, but the better part about that is that they can be adjusted fairly easily just by moving these rods. I gotta say that this steering is ghetto as heck, and I'm probably not gonna stick with it long term. It's it could benefit greatly from some proper joints, and I think that the next time I see them on sale, I'm gonna grab some because I think that's a worthy piece of the puzzle here for this project. But for now, I'm using this random rod, which I believe is actually a hood a hood holder, like one of the ones that you use to hold up the hood from an Infiniti G35. Funny how that works. Basically, what I did just now was stick that on there and make this rod, which is working reasonably. It's just not quite done up all the way, so I gotta do that. But this is what the steering looks like so far. This is my steering wheel at the moment, but to the right, one wheel goes, and then to the left, kinda. We don't have much angle when we go to the right especially, but I'm trying to work on that. At the moment, it's popping that up, so I need to bend that over, but yeah, garbage. Okay, this is steering take 2, but also I guess 1.5 maybe. Basically, I just modified that, and it turns a little bit better. Let me see if I can get you a good view of this. Yeah, I mean, it's rough. It's not good. These joints in here are the problem. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do something about that, make them less movable. Basically, I'm gonna have to cut those ends off, replace them with some like circular pieces with bolts through them, and then that should hopefully fix that. Probably the same thing over there and over there, so I'll need 4 of them, but that's not the biggest deal at the moment. The thing that I like the most about where it's at right now is that it can roll. So if I pick it up here and then push it forwards, it's snow plowing a little bit, snow plowing a lot, but it at least can kind of roll. So let's work on the steering wheel. That's the next part, the main part actually that I wanted to get done today. So let me move this thing out of the way actually. So the steering wheel is kind of exciting because I thought of a really good idea for it just the other day, and I'm like, man, why don't I make that this weekend? So that's what I'm doing right now. Basically, we have some splines on the shaft here and a bolt. Well, it's a nut actually that just goes onto it. Nice spinny thing here too, so it doesn't interfere with the steering. Now, I didn't keep the parts that were used in this, but basically what I'm going to have to do is find something that I can pinch using this with this tapered end and this part here so that it'll actually control the wheel. I don't know how I'm going to do this yet. What I might end up doing is just grinding a flat spot on this shaft and then using it as a keyed thing instead of having it, I'm not sure what that would be called. Threaded, I guess. It's not really threaded, but the basic idea is I need to crush something into that in order to make this work, which is fine, and I think that it'll work out decently. The steering, once it's actually functional, I mean, I only have a 5 horsepower engine, so we're not really going to be flying that much, at least until I motorcycle swap this thing. But here's my Tibron right there. It's currently dead because it has no battery in it, but other than that, it's fine. At the moment, though, I took everything out of it just to keep it from getting stolen. That's happened to me before with my previous Infiniti sedan. Stuff was stolen out of my car in my driveway, which is ridiculous, but anyways. One of the things I took out of that car was a speedometer. Now, this is just a cheap unit from Amazon. I'm not sure if it's really that accurate or not. I gotta take it into my truck and test it because that thing has a digital display. But this is a power cell, just USB power cell. So I'm thinking that I could probably make a little dashboard using this GPS speedometer and have this power cell power it. But all of that is going to need to be self-contained in the steering wheel. So the gist of it is I'm going to put this screen on my steering wheel somewhere. Well, I guess I could actually just hook it up to this part here instead of the steering wheel itself, but I'm going to try and make myself a mini dashboard is basically what I'm trying to say. Whether or not this is actually on the steering wheel or on the shaft, we'll find out. I do have a few brackets over here that I could probably use to mount the battery pack, but basically this thing is very light. It has a very simple mount, and yeah, I just need to hook it up via USB, this to this, and then hopefully we'll have a decent amount of range using this small little battery pack that I don't really use for my phone anymore. But I think it's yeah, it's 5,000 milliamp hours, so hopefully that's decent enough to run this thing for an hour or so. Hopefully more, who knows. But yeah, let's give it a try. Let's design something. So here I am digging through my scrap metal collection, trying to figure out what's going to make the most sense for this. And I happen upon this, and I remembered what it's called. It's spline. This is a spline shaft. Hopefully you can see that decently. But yeah, this is a spline shaft. I don't remember where it's from. Genuinely, I don't know. But I just found it on my desk here, and I'm like, hold on a minute. Why don't I just try this just for fun on the steering wheel part, and we'll see what happens. And would you look at that? It literally fits perfectly. The spline matches. How the heck did I get so lucky? So we're actually going to be able to make a removable steering wheel using this part, which is insane. And I'm very excited about it. This shaft is actually splined all the way down. You can probably see the little ridges there. So I'm just going to have to cut part of it off. I'll use this side, which is already a little wider. So it'll be something like this, and I'm going to save the rest of this for any future steering wheels. So let me tell you what's going on with my design, because, yeah, I have some ideas. The first idea would be to just make it all custom. Basically, we would put this in the center, and I would have to tape up the handles, I was thinking, because I was figuring that it would be kind of unfortunate if I just had to grab hold of like rusty steel or something. So yeah, I'll tape up the handles with some hockey tape or something to give it a little grip. The hole, obviously, and then all tube, what's that supposed to say? Apparently they don't teach you how to spell when you go to school for engineering. This is the tube I'm thinking about using. It's pieces from, I'm assuming, a lawnmower. So it's not, I mean, it'll work, but it's not amazing. The thing is that it's light, and I got to be careful about welding it, but it should make for a decent steering wheel. The cart itself weighs a lot already. I'm not really concerned about weight that much. However, I do want less weight that could potentially be stabbing into me if I fall on this thing, and I want it to be nice round tubes like this, so that's why I'm thinking I'll go with this setup. So the first idea would have me cutting this up and then welding it back together. The second idea is to make a U-shaped steering wheel, which is going to be a little futuristic, and then possibly have a bracket like this pop up and then have this piece here in the center. Now these ideas are all assuming, my goodness, somebody's a little angry, but they're all assuming that I cut off some of these brackets here and then use the rest of them to hold up the speedometer and stuff, but I'm going to work on that after. The gist of it now is basically just to find a comfortable steering wheel position, and then I'll work on the speedometer stuff. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, because this part here, the width of it is not too much, so what I can possibly do is cut it here and then equally on the other side, and then have that be my steering wheel, just one piece, which I like the idea of. It's just going to involve a little bit more bracket fabrication, but I don't see that as being a bad thing, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this and then see if it fits in my hand nicely, try and find a good position on the cart, use my fancy spline shaft, which again miraculously was sitting right here this entire time, so my answers have been solved, but I'm going to use that somehow, maybe this bracket, I don't know, attach it in there and make a steering wheel. So let me show you what I've done so far. Don't get too excited, this is just a placeholder, but this is kind of where I want to put it, somewhere basically there. So we'll be doing some bracket swapping and stuff to get that to be in that position, and then the battery can kind of just rest below it somewhere. I got to cut all this bracketry off. We still need to obviously do a throttle and brakes and stuff, and yeah, there's a lot left, but in my haste to put this on, I actually did the finish welding with it on there, just so it wouldn't go out of round, which I already by accident did. But anyway, don't worry about it. So the problem with that is that I did that with the thing turned to the right slightly, and it's kind of glued on there. I also have made it so that this steering wheel part is extremely bendable, and I need to finish welding that back in before I finish up today. But I've pretty much accomplished what I was trying to do. I also destroyed some of my really crappy welds down here. This was never a solid connection, and it's just been proven much more significantly now. There goes the GPS, but yeah, hopefully it still works. Yeah, that was a piece of garbage down there, so I'm gonna have to fix that too. Overall though, forward progress, question mark. I think I might cut off some stuff. I might cut off these brackets here. Starting to get a little bit dark outside. Seems like it's gonna rain, but I can just hang out in here and keep working, so that's what I'm gonna do. Gotta push myself to get this stuff done if it's ever gonna actually get done. But yeah, next on the menu is remove that and finish welding it up so it actually holds itself decently. Maybe cut some bracketry off here, weld that piece back on, and then I don't know, I guess we have a half rolling go-kart. Again, this stuff up front I think is going to be temporary, but just to get it rolling I'm going to leave it. Those back wheels and some of the other stuff that I need will hopefully, well, they'll turn up. I got to measure these and make sure that I know what size rear drive shaft to get, and that'll determine the sprocket that I get, and that'll determine the chain that I get, which will determine the clutch that I get for the engine, which is then going to determine the brakes that I get if I decide to do brakes. Yeah, go-karts are fun and complicated. If you're ever going to do something like this, it's way more economical to just buy a trash go-kart from whatever your local used place is. Like online, it would be Kijiji for us in Canada, but Craigslist in the US, I assume, or Facebook Marketplace, whatever, and then just build off of that. Don't do what I'm doing and build it yourself, but this has been a big welding practice adventure, and I guess that's the whole point. But man, is it a pain in the butt. I almost burned my foot as well. I shouldn't be wearing socks like this. Almost lit myself on fire there. That would have been funny. But yeah, back to work. Okay, so it's been a while, and I've done some work here to make this actually be straight. I had to hammer it off, but when I was hammering it, it broke. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. So I've reinforced it with a lot of filler, and it looks horrible, but I'm hoping that it actually stays. One of the problems that I see with this is I've attached it to a fairly thin piece of metal, which is maybe dumb in hindsight, but yeah, I might have to do some more reinforcing on that, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I might have to double up this this metal layer. It's quite hot, so I don't want to touch it, but that metal layer right there might need to be doubled up in order to make this actually strong, which is fine. I can do that. I'll just have to cut some metal parts out for it. Over here, I did basically the same thing. I just have a random scrap piece that I've welded to there, kind of loosely. Well, loosely as you can weld something, I guess. It's a lot better on this side, but basically just tried my best to get into that crack, stick it in there decently, and now, officially, the wheels are connected to a steering wheel, which is at least partially removable, and the steering wheel is at least relatively in line. So let me show you what it looks like when you sit down. The seat needs a lot of work. It's extremely uncomfortable, and I don't sit far enough back. The base plate is horrible too, so I need to do something about that. But this lever here was originally the steering wheel adjustment lever from the, well, that was hot, from the Infinity, but anyway. So this is what I'm looking at when I'm looking downrange here. There's my feet. That's where the pedals will eventually be. My feet are on the ground, so I'm going to need to make some kind of kick plate or something to put my feet on, because otherwise they're going to get stuck on literally anything that I run over, and that's going to suck to bust my feet open. So got to work on that. I need washers for that stuff. I already mentioned that, so I got to find like washers of that size and then buy a bunch of them and get that all out. But I think the wheels will be less cambered once I bring them in. That's basically like half an inch in there, maybe 1.5 centimeters or so. So that's a decent amount of adjustment. I checked it, and the new wheels, which are up on the shelf over there now, they are actually the same size as these, at least in the internal diameter. So I can reuse these shafts for those ones if I want to, and that means that long term I can just switch those wheels with these wheels if I decide to do that, or I get another set or something like that. Having more wheels is a good thing. That just means more options, so Can't complain about that. But yeah, overall, decent progress today. A little bit of vlogging as well, I guess, just talking about projects and talking about this stuff. But hopefully you have enjoyed it. Yeah, we got some steering. It's difficult, but I don't know. It may or may not turn. I'm gonna work on the seat next. Let's see what I can do with it. So let's wrap things up for now. Basically what I did was I just took the seat back and I moved it to the back, and that distance there is significant enough that the seat went from terribly uncomfortable to, wow, this is actually not bad. So I'm happy with that, and I think I'm going to leave it. I like the name Extreme, and I think that's what I'm going to call the go-kart, by the way. So it's Extreme, just X that commercial pressure washer stuff. Don't worry about it. In terms of the steering, things are set up as I had hoped they would be at the end of the day. In terms of the cart itself, I'm honestly just happy that it's not totally butchered. It does work, at least in concept. That's okay. So one of the things I've noticed, I'm going to need some washers for this, and so I decided to measure it, and turns out that these shafts down here, which is what I'm working with, and also the inner diameter of these wheels is 3/4 of an inch. So that's what I'm going to have to get for my rear drive shaft. So everything that I'm going to be working with for the rest of this build is going to be 3/4, which is hopefully easy to find. I think what I might do is, yeah, I might buy an actual go-kart rear end, and I'll just use the wheels that I have. And yeah, I want to get an actual sprocket and an actual like clutch as well, so that all that sort of rear end stuff doesn't explode and kill me. Not one that I have to weld on, one that I can bolt on as well. So I may end up spending my money on that specifically, because the wheels will save me a bunch of money. Having to order those online is insanely expensive. I might be able to get a cheaper axle in 3/4, some pillow blocks, and a chain and a clutch, and hopefully that'll be under $100. So when I get that stuff, somehow we'll be able to slap this bad boy together, and then we'll just basically need a throttle, and it'll actually drive. So that's the scary part, especially when the steering is as sketchy as it is. One of the reasons that I bought a truck was so that I could use this piece of garbage and also future other projects, hint, hint, wink, wink, 4 wheels and also 2. Basically, I'm hoping to get into some unofficial racing. So I can load this thing up in the back of the truck, drive off to some random country road in the middle of nowhere, hopefully not too busy, and then tear up and down it with this. Maybe even find a field or a parking lot in the middle of nowhere. We'll see. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again soon. This has been a wordy video, but hopefully a worthy one to come back to after all this time. But yeah, go-kart signing out. See you again. I'm going to try to do this again next week. We'll see what I have in stock. All right. Peace out, boys. Next up on the list is making a bench out of those pieces of infinity parts there. But yeah, see that soon.